That's how it feels to me, that there's a whole lot of people inside that are just different parts of myself.
If you don't deal with your aspects, like, because it's not about processing, using your mind and processing everything, but if you don't do it, you're like a haunted house.
It is so natural for the human to identify with these stories because the human's feeling them.
Well, I have in mind how I would like to approach this and what my perspective is on this topic. There was an episode from Star Trek The Next Generation where Picard had an artifact from archaeological dig on a planet. And it was a sculpture of a head. And the top of this head would come off, and inside were little places where there were little statues of people inside this head. And what it was depicting was all of the different parts of ourselves. That's how it feels to me, that there's a whole lot of people inside that are just different parts of myself.
From my perspective, the biggest pitfall when one of these conflicted parts comes up and wants attention is identifying with it. And that's so easy for the human to do. There's like a gravitational pull, and the human just like, well, this is me now. I'm conflicted. And when that happens, then my human's focus then is more on that past story than on who I truly am, my presence here in this moment, my reality, my divinity. In the divinity me, all is always well. And that's where I can accept these stories, no matter what they are. So that pitfall at the beginning, to step back and say, I am not this past story. I am not this past story. I choose to be my presence. I choose to make this my presence, my reality in this present moment more real than anything that is talking to me from within me. And after that, it gets easier. It gets so much easier to there's breathing space then to be with that story and to love that story without letting it take over in the present day.
I love all your points and I agree with you all. I love the not identifying. That for me has been very powerful, to not let those parts speak for you. Because I identify as, I like to identify as a group of children and a mind who feels that she has to be serious. But there's a lot of us, but the one who's speaking, the one who's in front, is deciding how we perceive reality and what we're creating. So if somebody feels really upset, so a part of me feels really scared or sad or whatever, and I say, I am scared, then that part is at the front speaking for all of us and creating our reality. So I learned to be very clear, like Moishe said, with no, I'm here. Where I am, all is well. And there is a part of me that feels fear, which is fine.
Yeah, I really relate with that, with the identification bit. Because for my human, like her first response when she feels something is, I feel it, so it's me.
Mm-hmm.
But then what helps is if I say, I am here, and she hears me as a soul speaking, then she can detach from the feeling and knowing, okay, I feel it in my body, I feel it in my emotions. What the human feels are hers, but it's not who I really am. So then I make that little step to more the awareness and the soul instead of the feeling, the story, and identification. And also, what helps my human now is to know that she doesn't need to be perfect to be good enough for me as a soul or in general. So that helps so much with the acceptance with all these feelings, because otherwise she tends to want to fix what she's feeling, or the stories, or like, oh, there's aspects or there's conflicted emotions. I need to fix myself, heal myself, or something like that. Like to be in this path or to be good enough to feel my soul. Then like no, like the human doesn't matter how fucked up parts of me feel, or doesn't matter what's coming through and going through. It just doesn't matter. I don't need to be perfect. I don't need to feel good. Like I can feel like shit because it's not me, it's just all those parts. And then so to really play with that, and sometimes indeed the gravity is so strong that I get pulled in deep. But then again, okay, I am here. And even though we feel all this stuff, it's okay.
I really love how you put that, Flo. I really
Yeah.
love how you put that. Then
No sugarcoating.
yeah, it is so natural for the human to identify with these stories because the human's feeling them in the body, in the mind. It's so natural to identify with them. But to say like it's okay no matter how fucked up they feel. Yeah.
So you don't have to be a perfect human, perfectly integrated to allow your soul. Is that what you're saying?
I don't know
Okay.
about you, but my villagers need to be perfect. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Yours, I'm kidding. But yeah, you can call them aspects, facets, part of yourself. Some call them counterparts. I call them villagers. They have a village, and yeah, most of the days we all get along. They all kind of looking at me, what is he doing? And like Flo said, sometimes I feel them in my body, and it takes sometimes a breath, sometimes many breaths, or whatever time it takes for me to realize, like, wait, that's not my story. This is not my feeling. This is not my story. And then that triple A thing where always that acknowledgement and acceptance, and then eventually Marco allows eventually. That's why we do long walks. That's what helps me. That's when they really come close. At least I'm aware of them.
For myself, the human, when he's trying to visualize what a soul looks like, he kind of sees it as the soul being a golf ball, in essence, almost like there's a little nibs or bumps all over the golf ball, and each one of those is an expression of, possibly a life, past or present, for how the mind defines it, but just more expressions, aspects. He still views it as, some are maybe a little more dysfunctional than others, but everything is all okay. It's all part of the experience and the wisdom that he's gaining, or the soul that I am gaining by having these experiences. And, sometimes when my human acts up a little bit, it's something where, the next day or whatever, he just kind of takes a fresh look at it and just kind of goes, oh, well, that's kind of the way, yeah, it just happened. And it's kind of accepts it, because, well, that's part of, to him, the bigger picture is still what the soul does with it. Um, and he's not fully defined as to what that is sometimes, but, definitely it's all okay. And, if he can still get up the next morning and go, just kind of leave it with a few words and go, oh, well, to him, that's a great way to look at it. And for me as a soul, that's a great way for him to look at it too, that he's not really reacting too much to what did occur.
The ones who have issues, the way I feel the love and acceptance from Magda, the soul, is how I deal with these different parts of myself with complete acceptance and being okay with them expressing themselves as fully as they want to, and accepting that with profound love for that part of myself. And by allowing that, and allowing the charge of the emotional charge to dissipate, it just turns into a story. It turns to a story, and stories aren't any problem at all. So I have a lot of stories in my head that aren't really emotionally charged, because I have allowed them just to express the way that they wanted to.
The other thing that I really had to learn dealing with these parts is that the acceptance part, first you need to really acknowledge that they're there and to own your shit, because it's not who you really are, but they're still a part of you. There's no victims. But then in the acceptance part, what works really well for me is just seeing them as parts of myself that are still stuck in their dreams, or there's just parts that had an experience and somehow they got stuck in their own time loop. And they're still in there, they're still experiencing the same feeling over and over again, and they still believe it is real. So I just radiate compassion to them like that and tell them you don't have to change. You can feel this way forever. And I feel that true acceptance for me means accepting that they may always be there. They may always be one screaming or being afraid or being super angry. And when I can get to a place where I can completely accept that that part is there and be totally fine otherwise, that's usually when they start to dissolve and finally feel truly accepted and start letting go.
Yeah, and for me also the acceptance is kind of a physical thing. So like in your mind, you can say, I accept you,
Oh yeah,
but
no.
you have to truly feel it and truly be there as a soul, because yeah, that's a game I played like some time ago. Like that doesn't work. You have to really
Yeah,
breathe
sit.
with the acceptance, and yeah.
That's a good point. And also the be there as the soul. That's kind of obvious, but yeah, always breathe the soul first because the human is not capable of truly dealing with that shit.
And that acceptance of all the different parts of ourselves or aspects of ourselves. When you go past the ones we call our own, the personal ones, then we've got all the other faces on the planet. Again, another face of our own.
Mhm.
And we have to accept them as they are. That's how I feel. I feel so much different to, so 30 years ago, where you're trying to understand everything, everything's separate, everything's different. And the evolution, as said before, point where everything's you. Just accept it, love it. Don't try to change it. There's the conflict, trying to change it. You just be at peace. Very
Yeah, I
hard.
call
Easier said than done. So,
Well, it kind of goes hand in hand, right? The more you accept yourself, the more suddenly you accept everybody else, and everybody starts
yeah,
acting all lovely suddenly.
yeah, very true.
well, my guru disagrees with all of you. Everybody needs to be fixed, okay? I don't know what you're talking about, but
Yes,
everybody
You
needs
don't
to be
fix
fixed.
the world.
yes, fixed by that guru, obviously.
Yeah.
And he's the only one who can do it. That's the very important part.
Yes.
The only. Okay. Good.
Okay, the way that I figured the aspect of me, conversation with my soul yesterday, as a matter of fact, about how I was when I was a little girl, 1 to 6, how that evolved into something else to where I'm not even thinking about the little girl, because when you're a child, you're sitting up there always trying to get older. And then when I became a teenager, that was a different aspect. It's an evolution. These parts of me, they're there, but they're nowhere near what I am today. And then, the stages of young adulthood to middle age to almost being a full-fledged senior. The evolution that takes place, the changing of the thoughts, the judgments, all of that evolved, and it's a continuum. And yes, it is the 1,500 lifetimes or the 17,000. It's like you were a different aspect and you perform particular tasks, and that was you. And we have evolved ourselves to the point to where we can deal with our having an actual relationship with our soul. All of that is necessary. Good, bad, ugly. I love good, bad, ugly. All of it. It is necessary to get you to the point to where you can accept you, the God you. That's all it is. That's all it is.
In my case, I do accept them, but feel more gratitude for my aspects, it makes the experience here more colorful. It can be black and dark, or maybe shiny, but everything, the contrasts makes the experience colorful. So it was really difficult to start having gratitude for the difficult parts, but when I started showing gratitude to these parts, they changed. That's how I deal with my aspects.
I think having some of the story can help with that too. For me, I wanted to go to Thailand, so I visited some past lifetimes in monasteries and like a hermit monk in Thailand, and it was just like, why not? Why not go to Thailand? Why not go and go to some temples and meditate and have the food and use that as a way to feel more into the story of some dear parts of me that gave everything that they had to be so dedicated. And there was the conflicted side of that where they're like, no, everyone else stay away. I have to be alone to be authentic. I have to be, this way in order to be on my path. And it's like, yeah, thank you. Thank you for doing what you needed to do to be on your path.
I see the aspects like a part of the old identity. For example, if I watch some movie that I liked some 10, 20, 30 years ago, I can't even open it because it is such old energy. It is completely different. So some aspects are like this, like old movies, okay? We took the wisdom, the essence out of the story, but the story is not relevant anymore, but something stays. And that stays. The other day, it came to me that actually every aspect has a frequency. And before, long ago, I didn't even realize that I am an aspect. I was being my aspect. Now I can see, this is the aspect and this is me. Then you go into the story of the aspect. But after that, for the ones that are not the big ones are a bit different, but they are also can go into the same category because they all have the frequency. We can take this frequency, what I do now, try to do, take a frequency and put it into the highest frequency. This relates to what Linda said at the beginning, because with that frequency, actually, this aspect is at home. And some of them are really like children, and they're grateful that they came home, actually. Some of them are not, and you must have a different approach. The most of this, because we are losing this old identity, and they are part of this. The new us that is here now, and that is beginning this new cycle, is actually, because it is all experiences, but these are old experiences, and now we are starting to experience in a new way from a different parts of ourselves. So yeah.
I like this viewpoint that these parts of us are not us at the core, because if we treat it too personally, we would get stuck with constant need to improve ourselves, and we would take responsibility of things instead of remembering who we are, and instead of being integral part of ourselves. I see it both, that it's important to see these aspects or these conflicted parts of us. Sometimes it's good to see what do they need from us. For example, when the recent time I was doing this, I noticed that these parts of me wanted to be seen, appreciated, and that they want to feel that they were not broken, that all these parts are not broken, they just had this kind of experience, but they don't need to have it anymore. This is the moment of feeling who we are at our core, and feeling this love, like putting it into our heart, which heals these parts, but not heals because they are sick, just heals, like softens like a hand cream. Like we have a dry skin and we use a cream, and our love is like a cream for this hard skin. So yeah, so I agree with all of you. These were great points. And also remembering that all is well is so important.
Can't begin to say how many times all is well saved my life, literally. Right before my mind freaks out and I fall on a lava rock or something like that, all is well really, really helps me a lot. And I also I love to play this game. It's like whenever I feel like Aspect is coming home, I would have this big moth, on my house, and I always feel, oh, okay, he wants to come back home. He literally comes, and then I wait for him to enter my living room, and then he's cozy there. But I'm like, you cannot go under the shower. You go into the living room. That's where the village is allowed to stay. It's the living room. So yeah, I made this little game just for my mind, so the mind kind of starts, because mine needs the story. He needs it, obviously. So yeah, that's another way how I mapped everything, just to have a little more fun. If I'm already gonna do this integration, at least I gotta find a way to do it fun,
Find it a fascinating journey that parts of me that I identified with my entire life, and then somewhere along, suddenly you realize, oh, that was really an aspect just like guiding my life all along, and it really wasn't me, but because you're so used to it, you don't see it anymore. So sometimes you have these very obvious things that have been with you all your life, and like you've been doing integrating aspects for years. It's suddenly like, how could I not see this one before? And you acknowledge it and you accept it, and then you feel such a warm love, and like things change, and they're not even very evil ones, but just ones that feel so close to you that you miss them for so many years, which is just really funny, I think.
But also it can be challenging because there is a question, who am I if I'm not that? Yes, because we create such a story about ourselves that then we have to differentiate ourselves from all these stories we have been telling us about ourselves. It's good to see that it's just a story.
All is well.
Yeah.
There's a guy in Melbourne used to say, what's wrong with work now other than what you think about it? He was right. It's all in our head.
Yeah, but that's a good point, though, that it can be destabilizing for parts of our human identity to let go of a big part of ourselves. There's grief, and it's totally appropriate and normal for grief to come up, for layers of grief to come up, and letting go of old stories.
The brutal dissolving of the human.
Yeah. Yeah.
But there was something, I don't know who said it, I already forgot, but it actually really clicked something for me, even in just this discussion. I'm like, oh yeah, what they all really are like children, man. Once they're integrated, they feel like little children. And I never thought about it until you guys said it. I'm like, wow, that is right. They become this this little. So okay, so I don't have a village, I have a kindergarten. Cool, thank you guys. I just realized it.
Yeah, that's a big responsibility, Marco. You're running a kindergarten with 1,500 children in it. I don't know how you have time to do anything else.
Now
This
it
was
explains. Now I get it, man. I went salsa dancing last night, and I was like so blissed out all day right before I went salsa. I was in the mountain. I actually taped a few videos, but anyway, so I'm coming out of the mountain, going salsa, like super expanded. It took me like half an hour to land in mass consciousness, and but I wasn't horny, and I was like, "What the fuck is going on?" Why am I know? I'm sorry. You can delete this if you want. I'm like, what? Like, no, like I was celebrating, but it was just confusing to my human who felt horny every single time I go salsa dancing. It's just the truth. I'm not gonna lie. I have an aspect who's like goes there and is like, wow, look at all these beautiful women, and I felt none of that, like, but zero, like, and I did, and it was good. Like I was actually celebrating, but my those guys, just like really were confused, and it was amazing. I had a beautiful, beautiful time. It was so innocent. It was so innocent dancing, and that I just didn't invite any of the feeding. It was just an amazing, beautiful experience. But now I get it. I went to my innocence, and it all is different experience.
Yeah, that's such a huge gift of all of this is for the parts of us that were warmongers or womanizers or were abused to come back to innocence. That's the relief to let them become children again, no matter what their story was, to become a child again. It's such a big topic
And
to
and
be,
it's so important.
yeah.
It's so important because
Mm.
I thought that if you don't deal with your aspects, like because it's not about processing, using your mind and processing everything, but if you don't do it, you're like a haunted house. Like things pop up and it's what's happening, you're not in
You're
That's
still
great.
you're
lost in
not
it.
Haunted
driving
house.
your
Maybe we can
car.
put that haunted
Yeah.
house. That's a great one.
Mm, Yeah, you're not driving your car because there are so many voices which tell you something. And recently, I just was so tired with one part of me that when I was going to sleep, I just told my soul, just do something with it. And I went to sleep. And then I had a dream. And in this dream, the situation was being solved. Maybe. Maybe, but it was funny because I said, okay, you just do it. And I'm going to sleep.
It's so like I can say crazy stuff and feel safe and just be all that I am and
So are
never
we leaving in the
never
horny part?
even the horny part, yeah.
It's very real, and I think
Yeah.
everybody was like this. It was kind of funny. I saw Linda. It was-
But it's true. I can't like it's true.
I actually had some nice dates this past week. Very unexpected.
Speaking of horniness,
It was awesome.
Listen, children, listen, daddy's going out. Children, go there, play there.